Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. I am your host, Mike D, here with Mr. Albert Butler. Albert is a CPA, MBA, author, husband, and father of four. Turn- Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Father Talks podcast. I am your host, Mike D. I am here with Mr. Albert Butler, CPA, MBA, author, husband, and father of four, turning life's trials into a blueprint for generational success. Albert, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Mike, thank you for the intro. I think that's a great handoff.
Thank you, sir.
And hopefully, while we're talking, we can share some stories and have your audience resonate with the things that we have to share. And I'm very much
Absolutely.
so looking forward to it.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, father of four, love it. So, how many you got? Well, boys and girls.
Oldest is 19. He's a boy. He's my pride and joy. He's the one that's been giving me the most of everything and the one I
Okay.
got to practice on the most. And I have three girls right behind him. So I have a 17-year-old daughter and two 12-year-old twin girls.
Oh, okay. So, I've got to ask, how's it raising twins?
It is, will tell you a lot easier than what you might think from
Okay,
the perspective
I was
of
scared of them.
yeah, from the perspective, my first two are only 18 months apart. Technically, they were really twins as well too. And they were actually more complicated because that age gap of 18 months, we were in wife and I were in diapers and wipes for an extended period of time,
Yeah,
getting them up and ready to go. But the twins, because I've had to practice on those older two, the second round wasn't as complicated, or hasn't
right.
been as complicated yet.
Hey, well, I mean that's fair. Well, man, I was always terrified that we might have twins or something. And I'm like, Jesus. Or like, you hear about people who've had these well, quintuplets and that. I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my goodness. Like you need to bring in a whole nother set of parents for that. So
exactly,
Lord have
exactly.
mercy. So let's talk a little bit, about you and your personal journey. Um I had been thinking about all these questions and everything, and literally, you know what, we'll just kind of let some of this flow,
Right.
but first and foremost, like, when did you personally realize like success doesn't fix what's broken inside of me?
Success is defined by everybody a little bit differently. That word is so vague to a point
Mhm.
where, for me, success is getting to a position where I'm giving back, not just even to my family, but also to the community that I serve, and giving back with my knowledge that I've gained throughout the years. But that same question, when I was 20 years ago, a lot younger, success can be
Right.
written a whole different type of script. Well, I need to go and make such amount of money, or I need to go and do this, achieve this particular type of goal, or finish to get this particular type of degree or whatever. But
Right.
as you progress and as you get a little older and as you gain more experiences, you realize that success is truly what do you have to leave inside of other people when they have a chance to spend time with you. So that's my success story these days.
Right. And I found with a lot of guys that I've been talking to lately that many of them have, they place such a burden on themselves. Well, I will say society has put a burden on them because, men are meant to be providers. We're meant to have all have all the answers and carry, the bulk of the burden without any self-expression, you know. And so more men that I've talked to recently have come to, and it's all us, slightly older guys, they've realized, hey, you know what? I can't take the money with me, you
That's
know,
right.
and what am I leaving for my kids? So many like they're I talked to a guy, he said, "Hey, I've been a six-figure earner for a long time, man. The reality is, a lot of this has cost me relationships because I've spent so much time working and not enough time with my family, or I'm not present when it's family time because work is still calling me or texting me. I gotta check on this deadline. I gotta make sure these people are doing what they're supposed to do, you know. So with that, how have you managed to find a healthy work life balance?
Well, this is probably going to make everybody mad that listens to your show. Oh my God, I'll be very transparent with you. There's no such thing as work-life balance. Doesn't
Right.
exist.
Okay.
In the perspective of this is purpose life balance.
Oh,
and
okay.
understanding that level of purpose, understanding that layer of why do you put your pants on every day and put your shoes on and go out into this world? That is the balance that you're truly looking for. So
Right.
in my practice, what I do, what I share with individuals all the time is that you have to get to a position where you can properly scale yourself internally first because life is turbulent, Mike. We go through so many ups and downs, left and right, circles and triangles and squares on a continual basis. And how we deal with those things is managed internally first and being able to govern yourself in being able to do that. Because once you can internally scale yourself, then you can scale your family. Then you can scale any profession, business, or enterprise that you decide to endeavor into. Because in everything that you do, your family, the people that you love the most, are going to be going on the ride with you. Because
Right.
when it's all said and done, when you get ready to close your eyes and say goodbye, who was it really for at the end of the day? Was it for you or was it for them? And I think majority of people will say it was for them.
Right. So I love that work life purpose. Mm. You know, now I probably said this before, but that is probably definitely a t-shirt somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
If it's not, it needs to be.
right. And that's the thing, man. How do we looking at it from that perspective, man, you know what? Honestly, I'm a little bit speechless and I always got something to say, because, you know, for me, for as long as I can remember, everything has been about my family, about my kids, and about, you know, being present, whatnot. But having, to put purpose in everything that I do with them, that's definitely another way to look at it. And I honestly, I like that now more than, work life balance. That's probably the way I'll look at it from here on in. And I'll share that with other people when I moving forward, you know, um, for you, where do, where do you think fathers confuse providing with actually being present?
Oh,
Because a
wow.
lot of us, we are working, 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 and we think that, hey, you know what, the lights are on, kids are fed, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be.
No, you're not, because you're not communicating what you're doing. You're not
Right.
talking. You're not layering in how everything moves and the whys behind it all. I don't want to hover around the purpose generator of it all, but
Mm,
if you communicate clearly with your family, with your spouse, with the people that are surrounding you,
okay.
what you're doing, when you're doing, why you're doing it, and not just keep it so close to the chest, you'll be amazed at how things are governed a little bit differently. I make it a purpose. I work a lot. I'm a CPA. It's a busy time of the year for me right now. And we literally have 60, 70-hour work weeks in some cases. But I make it a point to involve my wife, to involve my children in what I do. I also make it a point not to take any work home because when I get home, it's their time. Sometimes I'm at work. I'll bring them on in so they can see what dad's doing and why it's so important. Because at the end of the day, when I lay my head down, I do not want my children to say, I don't know what daddy does. I don't want that to happen. At the same token, I want to help give them a North Star as well, too, for what they're trying to accomplish in life when they set out to go into the world. My son's 19 right now. He's in college and
Yeah,
he's
right.
going through that, I'm 19, I'm invincible. I can take on the world mindset right now. And he can take all the risks there is because he has a very powerful thing called time. And that's wonderful to have that. But to identify, to know that you do have that time and to make those decisions, make them count, to take those risks is important for all of our young people. While at the same time, for our older individuals that don't have as much time, we need to make sure we're communicating our story to them on a regular basis. We spend a lot of time as men, especially, not telling our story and not being communicative with our family and our loved ones. And I think that is where the rubber really meets the road at. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Let's share and be open
Right.
to be okay with that.
Well, unfortunately, and listen, this is a major reason why I'm even doing this stuff with the podcast is giving men an opportunity to talk. And, people like us having conversations, but men don't know how to. And that's the unfortunate thing is that, I'm 52 and I can tell you right now, I was never really taught how to express myself. That's something I'm learning now, you know, and my kids are older, so it's interesting that so many men want the same thing. They want to be able to express themselves and not be thought of as less. They need to be able to express themselves and not be thought of as, oh, he's soft or this, that, and other thing. Because believe me, I can be both, but you don't want me to be the other all the time,
That's right.
you know? And so hearing that, I want to see want more dads to be able to say, you know what, sit their kids down and, just have a conversation with them like, listen, man, I don't want to I don't want you to think that I'm not interested in whatever you're doing. Dad's got work today. You know, I'll be there, you know, whenever you have whatever going on. But I just don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. And I don't think that we articulate that kind of stuff enough. So like for me, when I was in the military, my kids saw every day, what I was doing and whatnot. But when I would come home, kids would ask me about my day. We would just talk. And generally, I found rather that my kids talk the most around dinner. Like, just sitting down, we're prepping everything for dinner and everything. My kids talked all the time, you know? So that was when we had our best conversations, our most serious conversations is around cooking and the dinner table.
And I love to hear that around the dinner table. That's an extreme expression because what's evolving and changing is we go home, we get our food, we go to a couch, we go to a corner, we
Yep.
go to a room, everybody splits up and goes their separate ways. And
Yes, sir.
not sitting around the dinner table is a lost art for
Yeah.
families.
That's
And
how I grew up.
I'm gonna go one step further and say for Black families, it's extremely in a position where that has to come back to the table. Why? Because if we're not communicating at the table, if we're not making it okay to break bread with each other, man, such a lost opportunity not doing that. And I try to advocate that, especially in my house. So, hey guys, it's time for family dinner time. It's
Yes.
time for family movie time. It's time for family game time. These things are so important because it gives your kids the opportunity to do this. Put their shoulders down, turn their devices off, and now we're going to sit back and have conversations and talk and laugh and joke. That's so important and so critical for all of our
Right.
families.
And it's funny because, some of my kids, like I said, some of my kids are a little bit older, 26, 25 and that. They l I listen to them give me a hard time about, "Hey, dad made us do this, dad made us do that," but then when they get with their friends, okay, they're doing these big, like, community Thanksgivings, they're out sitting around they're all at their friend's house, everybody's watching a movie, the same stuff that we did when they were kids,
That's right.
and I
That's
laugh,
right.
I was like, "Yeah, okay, make fun of me," you know, but and that's the same it is crazy to me because when growing up, listen, my parents might not get home till 4 or 5 o'clock, but best believe we sat down to dinner every single night, no TV. We just sat at the dinner table talking,
Right.
not about everybody's day. My parents were like, my dad was a horrible cook. So he had no business being in the kitchen. It wasn't that. It was my mom's job is just that this cat would burn water. So,
Right.
but that's, he helped clear the table, all that stuff. But we did that as a family, sometimes.
Everybody has what they do well, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has what they do well.
My dad was not cooking. Like, I know, when my mom traveled for work a little bit, when my dad would be home by himself, where's my dad at? Olive Garden. Bring home leftovers. No. Hey, refrigerator is empty as the desert. You know, he might got a bottle of wine, some orange juice, and maybe, some milk in there, but, yeah, he ain't cooking.
That's about far as it's going, right? That's about
Yeah,
far as
yeah,
that's
that is it.
awesome, though. That's awesome, but
Yeah,
even to that point, though, even to that point, everybody have to pick up when others are not there. You gotta pick up those duties when others are not there. That's just the way it goes, and we take care of each other. Family is so critical, and I advocate it so much that it scares me to know that there's so many broken families that are so many. And it's something that I try to carry the torch for a lot that, you know, there's no such thing as a conditional relationship with family. That's the one thing that's truly unconditional in life is family. And when
yeah,
you realize how unconditional it really is and everything else has conditions around it, you got to try to get back to what got you here to begin with, because that's the reason why we're here, the growth of our families.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, even when it comes as it relates to family, man, we all grow up and kinda go our separate ways now, and I will say this, for other communities, you know, they're very tight knit. And,
Mhm.
as Black families, we are not as tight as we used to be, you know? Now I've traveled a little bit, for when I was in the military, for work and that. I'm in Michigan now. My parents and family are in Indianapolis, and I don't see them enough, you know. But when we do, it's always a good time. We catch up. I've been making it a point, even like I got some cousins here in Michigan that hey, we're gonna start spending more time together because I remember growing up, man. Growing up in Jersey, like we were always together.
Yeah,
Listen, my grandfather did not take no mess. Hey, we're gonna do this weekend. Well, I got to work, Daddy. No, you gonna be here.
that's
Whether
right.
you late, you gonna be here. So I would love to for more families to start doing that, man. The hustle and bustle of everyday life. People don't haven't learned how to make that balance. And as you said, hey, that purpose, we want more of that.
That's right.
For you, and even for you, having a young son. He's 19. What's your advice for him? Especially pretty soon he's gonna be in a relationship. His ability to communicate how he feels about
Mhm.
things. How have you advised him in that?
It's tough. It's tough because watch this, Mike. I could tell everybody all the best advice in the world, but with that young man, so I'm gonna tell you a story. I'm gonna tell you a story, Mike. I wrote a book. The name of the book is Life. And when I got ready to launch the book, I did a book launch in my office, and my son was there, and he walks up and he says, "Hey, everybody, I'm gonna give a prayer for today's event."
Nice.
He does the prayer. At the end of the prayer, he grabs the book and he says, "Hey guys, see this book right here on the back of the book. It has a quote on it that my dad came up with a long time ago. It says, 'I can because I will because I can.'" I purposely had these wristbands. I'm just wearing one right now. These wristbands made for the event, and he grabbed the wristband and he holds it up. He said, "Every time something was hard for me, every time I felt like I just couldn't do it, I would always remember I can because I will, and I will because I can."
Hmm.
And I encourage all of you that when things get hard for you, just think that you can do it because your willpower says you can do it. When he said that, and this was a year ago now when he said that, a tear literally started to roll up out of my eye, and I looked over at my wife and I said, "You know what? I think I might have did something right. I think he had it. I don't have to worry about him because this is what I've advocated over and over again." My dad told me this. He said, "Son, you got from 2 to 12 to raise a child. From 2 to 12, because after 12, they begin to do something very, very powerful. They begin to do something called lie.
Mm.
And when they lie, that means that they're trying to come up with a story to be creative about trying to avoid getting in trouble. Now, you can look at this two different ways. You can say, "Oh, I'm so upset that my child is lying." Or you can say, "You know what? My child is actually using his creative brain to be able to expand their knowledge and be able to come up with something that can benefit them." Look at it two different ways. Now, he was right in every accord with that because from after 12, anything that your child tells you is optional. Optional
Oh,
completely because it's gonna be what they want to tell you,
okay.
because they're gonna be trying to hide it, cover it up,
Excuse
and
me.
make it seem like, "Hey, you know what? I'm only gonna tell mom and dad what I wanna tell them." So from 2 to 12 is a very, very critical time window because you wanna instill those family values. You wanna instill that core moral compass. You wanna make sure the true right from wrong is already put in place because they're gonna get hit with a whole lot of stuff, especially in the world right now. So that's been my experience, Mike, and I'm very, very proud of my oldest son for sharing that, especially in front of everybody like he did, and it really made me feel like I had did what I was supposed to do as a father.
Right. Well, I will tell you, when your son is at other people's houses, all the things that you keep hollering at him about to do,
Yeah,
take out the trash, help out the dishes, this, that, another thing, he at other folks' house doing it.
that's right.
Right.
That's exactly
Okay.
right.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. When people would tell me, "Hey, your kids are so well behaved. They helped out with the dishes and did this and other thing," I'm like,
Who are these
"What?
kids?
What? Are you sure? Was their
Right.
mom involved? Was there a threat of violence or something?" And they're like, "No, they're so helpful." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Get them back to the house. I'm like, "Hey, so Mr. Helpful, I'm gonna need you to take the trash out." You're like, "Well, it's not my turn." Like, man. And now suddenly, we're back to our old selves when we at the house. But
That's it.
you know, trust and believe that your son is doing the stuff that you taught him when he is not at the house. So
That's it.
I would
That's
definitely say that. Now moving on to daughters. Okay. So for a long time, I preached to my daughters about being safe when they
mhm,
were out. Okay. Watch for this, watch for that, because I had my girls first. And I realized that I shouldn't be just teaching my daughters how to be safe. I should be teaching my sons as well to be respectful. So if you're out, my boys, like I said, my boys are older, but if you're out with a young lady, she's drunk, and you don't believe that she can make a rational decision, make that decision for her and take a step back.
that's right.
Yeah. And not enough of that is being taught to the young men in the college atmosphere. And I'm just gonna say it, young black boys, especially in college, be careful.
Yeah,
Be careful who you associate with because you've seen it a million times. Young men, get caught up in some mess that, maybe they didn't do anything, but it has ruined their careers, ruined the start of a career, or some of these boys found themselves in jail.
that's it. Yeah.
So with that, what are you teaching your daughters, you know, as they're getting older?
Interestingly enough, Mike, my girls, it's foundationally speaking.
Okay.
I would say that again, the 2 to 12 conversation is still there, but it's a little bit different because eh, they're daddy's girls, and daddy's girls are just daddy's girls. So my requirement to be the one to protect them and provide for them, that rides out until they get married. And even then, it's still more or less going to be there because I call it conservative if you want, or call it however you want to frame it. But I'm a big believer. The covering that I give my daughters is just that. Is that true covering that I can remove my covering when they do can be covered by another man. And we have roles in this world that I think that throughout time these things are starting to get blended the wrong way. These shoulders are broad for a reason. They're meant
Exactly.
to bear a certain burden for protection and for to provide. And if you want to go one step further, if somebody comes and put their foot through your door, who's stepping up? Is it going to be your wife? Going to be your daughter? No, it's going to be me or it's going to be my son. We go first. You got to come through us to get to them. And that mindset is something that I don't believe. Well, that mindset is something that's being lost. It's being lost
And
because my
I
girls have to understand that man that's in their life is there for a reason. That if anybody crosses a certain line, there is no coming back for that person who crossed that line.
exactly. And you said that things have been lost, and I could not agree with you more. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that women cannot do the things that men do. None of that. Okay. What I'm saying is that men, and I've talked to a lot of guys about this, there there are too many women being taught that you don't need a man, or that can you can do everything a man can do, or you know what, you want to wear the dress and the pants in the family, but you want a functional relationship. You can't be both of us and have a functional relationship. You know, you can't do my job and tell me that, hey, you know what, I'm the boss, but I want you to take me to dinner. No, no, that's not gonna fly. And in my house, we treat things like, the king and queen of the castle. I'm the king. I get to make all the final decisions, but for the most part, my wife runs the house. You know, if the kids challenge my wife, you got to deal with me.
That's right.
It's that simple. I'm the resident chef in the house. My wife can cook. I'm just a better cook. You know, everybody in the house, we share responsibilities. So the girls never got to. Well, when they were a little bit younger, I was, like I said, I was still figuring it out. So sometimes, the boys got the harder jobs. But then, as I realized, hey, these are young women that I want them to be in a position where they contribute. They're 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 in a relationship. not because they have to be, because they choose to be.
Mhm.
They're not dependent on somebody. They're a part of something. And that's what I'm hoping for. 'Cause I've taught enough lessons where, hey, I want to be in a functional relationship where you know what we are equal partners in what we're doing. But ultimately, my husband or whoever is taking the lead, and I'm okay with that. I am the leader of my household and my family. Yeah, but eventually I'm not going to be here. You know, so I want my kids to have an understanding of like I said, I'm a little old school. I I still believe in hey, my wife is not going to make another man's plate. Okay,
That's it.
I karate chop that right
That's
out the way.
right.
And it's not, and it's just a respect thing. You know,
Yes,
I still believe that my son should be opening the doors for their mom, or if you see your mom carrying something heavy, you know what, get your behind up and get that from her. You know,
that's right.
and while she can do those things, I don't want her to. If she chooses to, I'm not going to stop her. So, uh, man, careers. Let's go there.
Okay.
So, what are we doing where most men are they're still chasing money. You know, how are we how are we going to help guys? You know, yes, the money is important, but your family is more important.
Mhm.
How are you helping more men, understand that listen, your presence is more important than how much money you brought home. Being a part of your kid's life is more important than, buying your kids $300 shoes.
So this is gonna be controversial, Mike, when I say
Okay.
this. Money doesn't exist. I'm gonna let that sit for a little bit.
Okay.
Chasing money is the worst thing to go after because we live in a world, we have a fiat currency, which means that a dollar today is gonna be worth way more than a dollar tomorrow. Inflation is gonna eat that value, eat that value, eat that value. So if you chasing something that's depreciating over time, that makes no logical sense. Here we go. How about this? Chase purpose.
Mm,
Chase purpose. You chase purpose. You do what's inside your heart. You do what you have chosen to do from that purpose perspective, or what has chosen you from a purpose perspective. Something inside of you is going to start to resonate outward.
right.
As it resonates outward and you become the best at what that is, people are going to come towards you because people are drawn to positive energy when you walk
Right.
in your purpose.
Okay.
I stopped chasing money a long time ago, Mike. I do what I do because I'm giving back to the people that are in my community to understand and learn how the money cycle works.
Uh,
Understand and learn how important accounting is, not just to business, but also to the household. Understand and learn what legacy really is and how it's all built up. I walk in that on every last client that walks through my door and everyone who wants to understand and grow from that perspective. And you'll be amazed at how many more people come just from the light that I continue to shine. When I was in younger, we used to have something called Vacation Bible School. When you went to Bible school during the summertime, and there was a song that they taught you called "This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine." And if you let your light shine, that light is your purpose. That
okay.
light is that beacon that's gonna draw people in on a continual basis. So let it shine. Don't chase money. Chase purpose.
Standing. All right. So moving on, let's talk about family a little more. What do you think's more dangerous to a family? Financial struggle or emotional struggle?
Emotional struggle, 100%.
Okay.
Emotional struggle because your emotions are gonna draw where your money where you're gonna spend your money. So you're
Mm,
not gonna have financial struggle if your emotions are in order. So when you able to govern yourself, well, I'm even go back one step further. The 5 senses that God gave us,
okay.
sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. All of these things, what they do, they draw in raw data for to be governed internally inside of you, to be governed by your soul, Mike. And your soul is going to take that raw data and mold it based on how your core values have been established and what you're going to decide to do with it,
Hmm.
because that soul wraps around that spirit, that light that's inside of you. So if you can make sure that you are emotionally strong enough to block out the noise of the world that's coming around you all the time and keep your signal focused on your purpose, that raw data that you draw inside of you is going to be molded by that strong soul that's inside of you as well too, that covers up that beautiful light of yours. So 100%. Emotional struggles will continuously give you financial struggles, which is going to give you physical struggles, it's going to give you family struggles, it's going to give you all these different things when you cannot handle your own internal emotions.
Woo. Let's go. Hey, let's sit on that one for a second. Good
Yeah, sit
lord.
on it, man. Hey, let it resonate a little bit.
Right? Oh my god. Okay. As a CPA, okay, obviously, you're dealing with people's finances and stuff, whatnot. Financial habits, okay? I imagine that these, quietly destroy generational wealth. In Black communities, we don't have a lot of generational wealth because, we won't get into the details of that, but what would you suggest people do to start helping build generational wealth?
I will tell you the definition of generational wealth. You have to remove the financial component of it.
Okay.
Generational wealth, or better word, legacy, is by design your culture, your family culture, what we do, how we do, when we do. And when you get that in order, the wealth of it all comes together, be it emotional wealth, spiritual wealth, physical wealth, financial wealth.
Mm,
The correlation of it all working together in tandem, what you leave is not so much what you leave behind, is what you plant inside.
okay.
And every aspect of what you put inside of people after you talk to them and deal with them and pass that on, that's real generational wealth because that's legacy.
Right. Nice. Mm. See, we have been sitting around. It's like me and my wife have been talking a lot, and what we've really started doing is really focusing on the time we spend, doing things with our kids. So, like recently, we stopped spending a bunch of money on gifts on any holiday. We stopped spending money on gifts and started focusing on time. Okay, I mean, as a father, what I've learned recently in the last like, 4 or 5 years is that kids remember time more than anything else. You know, and as we're talking about, building, generational wealth, build, as you stated, legacy. I want my kids to remember all the things that we've done together. So I could be a gazillionaire and provide them with all these, material things. They can't. My kids couldn't tell you what they got for Christmas 3 years ago,
That's right.
but they can tell you about the trip that we took hiking. Something as simple as that. We went on vacation. We a couple years ago, we actually skipped Christmas, went down to Georgia, rented an Airbnb, and just hung out. Okay,
Wow.
no Christmas tree, no nothing. We went on a hike that day. You know, we went to IHOP. We waited an hour and a half for our food, but you know what? We sat around talking, laughing and whatnot. There was a couple other families in there who, you know what? They were just hanging out. We just chatted with a bunch of random people we didn't know, you know, and my kids are still talking about that trip to this day.
That's it. Yes.
You know, like that. Can we do something around Christmas? I mean, well, what do you want to do? Can we go on a trip? You know, that's what they remember.
Yes.
So as much as I love the fact that I've been able to keep a roof over my kids' heads. Christmases have been, you know, never terrible. Everybody's always gotten the things that they needed or wanted. But I wish I had started this part of my legacy anyway sooner.
Mhm.
You know, spending more quality time doing taking more adventures because that's money better spent. Taking in
100%.
culture.
I'm gonna get personal with you, Mike, and I'm
Okay.
gonna give you I'm gonna get to let you go behind the hood a little bit.
Yeah.
Christmas for me, for some years, became a very sad time.
Okay.
My mother and father are no longer with us, and my dad's birthday was on Christmas Eve. So as a child, Christmas Eve was always an amazing time because that was a huge party at my house, along with the Christmas Day experience of the gifts and all that type of stuff.
Right.
And when my dad passed, it just took a real turn for me and from a paradigm shift from experience because my best friend was gone. And that just it hit in a way that I had to come to grips with. It took me some time really to come to grips with it, but it helped me rethink Christmas a little bit and start a whole new Christmas tradition where we don't exchange we don't buy gifts for each other no more. I say, we're not gonna buy gifts anymore. We're going to actually make presents for each other. We're gonna pull names, and the
Yes.
name that you pull, they're not gonna know, and we're gonna make a present with our hands. For whatever you can find around the house, in the backyard, in the garage, we're gonna make it. And this past Christmas, I actually took some card stock, made a trading card game from my little girl. I pulled her name. I made a trading card game with all our little pictures on the trading card, and
Wow.
we and to play the game is like the old game of war. And that was my gift to my little girl. The year before that, I made a bunch of paper mache type toys for my other little girl. I made her a sword, a little paper plane, a little paper star to throw, and they remembered that type of stuff way, way more than the
Right.
tablet or the
Yes.
clothes and all the other stuff, because they actually got a chance to do something with their hands, and they actually got a chance to think about it from on a whole nother perspective because they had to build it and make it. So that's our tradition now, and it's something that I cherish so much. It's something the kids look forward to, all the above, and it's turned into a very, very powerful time
See,
for
I
us.
love that. I love that. Here's the thing is that, and I don't even complain about like Father's Day and things, because fathers generally aren't celebrated, for whatever. It is what it is at this point. On Father's Day, I keep telling people I don't need a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Most things I can provide for myself. So
Yes.
if you take the time and you make me something, no matter what it is, I think it means more to me than something you went out and you bought me, because that required you to do it, to do something, take time with your hands, to do something for me. Like my
That's right.
daughter-in-law, she drew this picture of me. I'm gonna tell you, it's not great, and my head is not that big. Okay, but because, she took the time, that picture is still sitting in the frame right as you walk in the house on this little table we have. Because
Yes.
just simply because she took the time to do it, you know what? And she got my suit right and everything, But again, my head is not that big. But I see how she looks at me. I'm thinking it's a positive thing, Um, but yeah, I get that, man. Like I told the kids a while back, listen, man, I don't care about what you do for me. You can make me a macaroni necklace, and
That's it.
you being creative and you showing that you love me that way.
Mhm. That's it,
I'm
man.
I'm,
That's
I'm good with that.
it's the small things like that that just mean so much, which also goes back to your point earlier about not buying so much the gifts, but they remember the experiences. Like
Yeah.
I can tell you 100%, my little girls remember me a whole lot more sitting in the audience when they're doing a performance of some kind.
Yes.
You know, my son, he wrestles, so he remembers the times that me coaching him in wrestling to get him ready for a tournament a whole lot more than anything I've ever purchased for them, ever. That time is just so critical. It's such a blessing to be able to give that to your child that it sticks for a lifetime.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that I don't think a lot of us really realize just how much our presence means to our kids. Just being present. I mean, my daughter, she dances. Man, I don't know what a pirouette is, but when she's
Right.
talking about it, I try to be very attentive. You know what, to make sure, and I even ask follow-up questions. I have no idea what she's talking about, but hey, you know what, I'm learning.
That's exactly right.
And that's what's important. My other daughter, she played softball for a long time. Man, I didn't know. First off, I didn't even like baseball. Okay, softball. I did not like it at all. Then I'm left-handed, so she would be pitching to me. Well, I gotta learn to catch with my right hand so I can throw the ball back to her with my other hand.
Yes.
And she's like, "Dad, just keep the glove on the one hand." I'm like, "Girl, if I try to throw the ball back to you with my right hand, it ain't gonna get there."
Make it.
I've tried it a couple times. It's like, yeah. She's like, "Ooh, okay, yeah, we need to get you another glove." You know,
Right.
but and again, so like I said, but it's the time that we spent together. You know, I mean, and that's why I try to tell a lot of guys, man, listen, don't worry about the money. okay, the money will come, but
Yes.
your time, so critical to your kids. You know,
That's it.
my and I'm the hard parent, the kids, will tell me nonstop, you know, well, you were always the mean parent. Like, hey, listen, somebody had to be.
Mhm.
Be. And, like you said, these big shoulders are here for a reason.
And
You
for a
know,
reason. That's right.
it's my burden to carry, the troubles of our family and stuff. So sometimes I have to be the mean dad. And I know, they don't all have kids yet, so it won't be till they have kids till they understand, what their parent, well, what I tried to do for them.
Exactly. Because here's what happens, Mike.
Yeah.
And I know your wife, she'll say, "No, this might not be completely the case," but for even with me, I'll tell you, when things go wrong, who's gonna get blamed for it? This guy. The guy is always gonna get blamed for when things are wrong. If there's trouble, if there's problems coming down the pipeline, and it's a honor, it's a right, privilege,
Yeah.
obligation, all rolled into one to be the one to be called upon to be the solution. And I love it. I love it. I want to be blamed. Blame me for it. I have a saying that I share with my kids all the time. I say, you can go in and blame me for everything wrong in your life. But when anything goes right, you give thanks to God that He gave you the opportunity to put me in chair to be the one to be the steward for you for your life.
Mm,
Because those things that go right for you are because of all of the tutelage, all of the training, all the aspirations that I helped build up inside of you. So 100% blame me, but also give
amen.
thanks to God for the blessings that you're gonna receive.
Right. Ooh. All right. Now, are you making listen, you making it a little harder to top each one of these questions, man.
No worries, man. Let's keep them coming.
All right. Wow. Yeah, with that answer, man, I'm afraid. Listen. All right. You know what? All right. So if you were to sit down with just a random young man today, what would be your advice for him? And let's say he's becoming a young father for the first time. What would be the first piece of advice you would give to a young man today?
I would tell that young man that as a father, you need to anchor yourself with something from a spiritual perspective. And I'm not going to sit back and say that you have to be a Christian, that you have to be a Bible thumper, but I'm going to say that you have to be a Bible thumper and read your Bible.
Right.
Why? Because that's an historical document that if you read it and you believe it and have faith in it, it consistently produces over and over and over again. You by all means can go and go another route if you so decide to, but I have evidence for proof that in people's lives when they read this book has stories inside of it that you're going to see in your own life,
Mm,
and it's going to help you down the road. Has some of the best writings from Paul. Ephesians and Ephesians 5, I don't want to misquote the scripture, beginning of Ephesians 6, well, it tells you 100% how to be a husband. It tells you how to be a wife. It tells children how they should follow suit. The biggest piece of it, it does say the words like submit. Submit to one another. It also says, wives, submit to your husbands. And it also says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. I tell young men all the time, how did Christ love the church? Christ died for the church. So you supposed to love your wife in a position like Christ loved the church and be ready to die for your family. And if you really want to be that man, if you really want to step up to the plate, that's what's in front of you. That's the honor, that's the respect, that's the obligation that you have. So be ready for it. And it's okay. You were blessed to have the opportunity to bring life into this world.
all right, man, get off my damn show. Listen, eh, I feel like, man, doggone it. I, hey, you know what? I love it. That is phenomenal answer. I had lost faith in the people who preach God's word. With that being said, you know, like even the church I found, it was a nice, diverse church. I've got a multiracial family, so I wanted them to be a place where they wouldn't feel kind of left out.
Hmm.
Like, what has faith done for you? How has it shaped you as a father, as a man?
Oh, honestly, Mike, it's my anchor.
Okay.
It is one, like I mentioned before, when my father passed away, and I didn't have that person to go back to for counsel. Um,
Mm,
I went to my Bible for counsel. My faith has been, that ringing thought that when my mother passed away and I lost the first person who to tell me that she loved me unconditionally. When you lost, you need to have an anchor to go back to.
right.
And my faith is the anchor that I always go back to. So just reading the word. And you make a very powerful point that when we don't read and we just go to church to hear what the preacher got to say, you can people say what people say, but the word is what the word is. And that's what gets me back to where I need to be. So my faith is number 1 in my life, and there's no ifs, ands, buts about it, and when you put it first, everything else some kinda way magically works out. Read your Bible, everybody. It's powerful, it's there for a reason, and it's truly, truly, truly factual in the results
Right.
that will yield from it.
Amen. So, Albert, let's talk about your book. I did not want to forget about that. So, tell us some more about the book, title, where can we find it?
Well, the book is on Amazon. The
Okay.
title of it is Life, Truth, Love, Loss, Success, and Failure. And it is interesting because it's purely comes out of the genesis of me having my children. Really, the first two in earlier in my career, I should travel all over the world, going to different locations and doing audit work and doing accounting work for different companies. And I'm traveling from Houston, Texas, over to Singapore, going over the Pacific Ocean at the time. And my daughter, the one who's 17 now, was just born, and I had to pack everything up and leave after my wife had just given birth after probably about 3 weeks or so. I didn't want to leave. And normally I'm up for traveling all the time, but at that moment I did not want to leave. I'm flying over the ocean, and I doze off, and I wake up suddenly, and I it's like, what if something was to happen to me? What if something would stop me from being able to give all the advice and all the aphorisms and all the sayings that my parents and my grandparents and aunts and uncles and everybody's giving an important side of me? And in that moment, God spoke to me and said, start writing down those quotes, start writing down those sayings, start writing down all those aphorisms and put it on paper. And by the time I landed, I had 10 written, about 10 of them written down at the time. And for a 17-year click, every time I heard a quote, read a verse, had an aphorism, or I made up a saying that I would govern my life around, I started jotting them down. And I told myself by the time my son got ready to graduate from high school, I wanted to have all of it published into a book.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
went through a process and selected the right ones and came up with the proper stories to fulfill them around and put it inside a book. And the book is purely about life.
Okay.
Chapters include family value system, perseverance, wisdom, health and fitness, relationships, travel, and the one I left for last, money. As a CPA, I had to throw that one in there because it's in our life, we're gonna have all of these different types of turbulences. And we need to have something to lean back on when we don't know which way to go. And I want to give that to my children. So the book has been very popular on Amazon. It has some amazing reviews. I'm biased, of course, so I think everybody should go grab themselves a copy. And Mike, to make sure everybody has the ability to do so, the ebook is only 99 cents.
Okay.
So if you want to go log on and go grab your copy for your entire audience, hey, go ahead. It's 99 cents. Go grab your copy of Life. And people have all told me that life is changing lives. I've gotten so many people say thank you for writing such a great book. It's something that really resonates. It's almost like if you don't have a father, if you lost your father too soon, don't have a relationship with your father, if you played a role of mother and father, this book is one that will talk to you.
I love that. I'm gonna have to look that up, and I'll be downloading it on the e-reader because if I'm not listen, if I try to sit down with a book, people will see me at peace. Somebody's gonna ask me to do something. If I'm on my computer, they think that I'm working. So
Right.
yeah, so I'll be downloading it that way. Sorry, I'm not cheap. Just want to be able to read the daggone book in peace, y'all. Sorry.
Mike, Imma do you one better, and they're gonna come bug you. This copy that's sitting on side of me, this is your copy. Imma send this over to you. So if you
Oh,
just send me your address, man,
you
I
know
wanna
what?
see your copy.
My man, thank you. So, Albert, before we close, okay, I want to ask you one final question. As a father, okay, when you look back on your life, okay, what is the one, we'll say even two things that you want your kids to say about you as a husband, as a father, as a provider, as a man in their life?
The one thing I just truly want my children to truly be able to say is that my dad did his best.
Mm,
Simple as that. He did his best. And I would probably say the second thing is that he was a man of his word. If he said he was gonna do something, he actually did it. That's it. That's it.
outstanding.
If I can have that level of a eulogy by my children when I get to say goodbye, I don't have any regrets, Mike.
Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Albert Butler. Check out his book about his book called Life, excuse me, on Amazon. Albert, we are looking forward to hearing from you. I'll follow up with you a little bit. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time coming on the show. Honestly, man, I learned a lot. I'm definitely going to restart reading my Bible a little bit more.
Awesome, Mike. You
So,
know what? I
thank you.
appreciate you. Yes, I appreciate the platform. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk. Man, you have a wonderful day, man. Talk to you soon.
Hey, you too. Take care of your family. Have a good one.